Welcome to Food Shrinks.
Hey guys, welcome to Food Drinks. Molly C here. Listen, if you have 1 minute, we have a big favor to ask you. Actually, you just actually need like 10 seconds. Would you mind just looking at your phone or whatever device you're looking on and just pressing subscribe for us? It really does help us know what you're looking for, and it does help us eventually become revenue producing. And so, if you're feeling like, oh, I love food shrinks so much, I actually have 4 minutes, Molly. What can I do? Well, then we would love for you to rate our podcast and even leave us some comments that lets the whole world of the algorithm know that we exist and it invites more people to come hang with us. So let's get to the show.
Yeah. And I want to send a special shout out to Natalie for
Oh, yeah.
doing comments and like ratings on every single episode. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Natalie, we're
Love
sending
it.
you big wishes from our hearts. Thank you so much. We'll call out everyone who does it.
Absolutely. And we've also had lots of comments on our YouTube videos as well. It just doesn't have quite the same impact when we have somebody like Natalie do what she did
Love
for
it.
us on Spotify.
I'm
Thank
like
you.
that. What are we
Yeah.
talking about today, Queens?
So we had a request from someone who said if we could just talk about the term chronic relapser and what are our
Ugh.
thoughts on that? Your
I think
face
we,
just
your
Well, you're
face,
not
the, ugh.
watching YouTube. My face was like, ugh, ugh. That's my take on it. Should we be done with the podcast now? Just
yeah.
kidding.
That's it. Episode done.
Why do we use these shaming words on a chronic condition? Like, would a cancer patient be like, I'm a chronic relapser?
I don't think so.
I'm not kidding. Like, right? Like,
Hmm.
I just think about Marty Lerner, who taught me, really brought me into food addiction. He's my long-term mentor. He actually like says in all of his writing that eating disorders, food addictions, whatever we're talking about here, are chronic conditions. And oftentimes they go through episodic times of recurrence.
Yeah, symptoms return, right? And
Happens
that's
to
just the
me.
way it will be. And I dislike the term so much because I really feel like it reduces a person to a pattern, right? And
Oh,
seeing somebody as this like complex, recovery journey, human kind of navigating, it just kind of flattens us to our most painful moments. And that to me is not what we're supposed to be doing in recovery. We're supposed to be lifting people up and helping them to get curious about the what is the wisdom in that return to use, what happened there, so that we can change and grow and continue to flourish.
Yeah, I like to reframe it as chronic ambivalence because when we think about the stages of change, right, chronic ambivalence is the space where it's like there's that part that wants to recover, wants to get better, and then there's the part that says I still feel pulled toward the food. The food is still my lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
Right, I've got this stuff going. It's still when things get hard, I don't quite have the tools yet or the armor yet or the whatever to deal with it without that.
mm.
And so then that can become like that conflicting space to get stuck in sometimes.
Chronic.
Yeah.
It's a really great way. I, I see for me, in my experience, actually, this is more of my experience, like in 12-step rooms too, like people who use that term often own that term.
Yeah. Tell us more.
I've seen it in all my 12-step rooms. Like when somebody says, like, I'm a chronic relapser, there's almost, and maybe I don't think this is conscious by any means. But there's just this kind of commitment to relapsing, which isn't even a word we use on food shrinks. And I actually a lot in like AA. Someone will be like, I'm 7 days back. And I'm like,
Mm.
it all sounds so deeply rooted in shame. And it just doesn't, I just don't think it's a realistic take. And if you are starting over, which like I hardly believe in, we just like pick it up and keep moving. Don't you want to be starting over with like the best mindset, the most love in your heart? Like I just think I would, if somebody's using that term about themselves, I would just ask them what the benefit, what their long-term benefit of healing is by labeling with such a, I don't have a better word. It's gross. Like, I'd be like, don't say that about my friend, the chronic, like,
Yeah.
this thing's hard.
Right.
This
Oh my
thing's
gosh.
Yeah.
hard.
It makes me think of like when other clinicians label an individual as like treatment resistant, right?
Oh,
It's
Yep.
this
oh,
framework of like you've put it back on the person. It's a character defect. It's a personality flaw. It's
oh,
whatever these
Yeah.
things are. And I love the question you posed, Molly. Like if we take this on, if we wear it like a hat or a piece of clothing, we own it, like you said, does it actually move us closer to our goals? Does it move us? Does it align with our values? Does it get us to where we want to
mm.
be? Or does it keep us stuck? And
Or
then what
like,
do you say to the people who say, but I need to be talked to like that? I need that kind of languaging because my brain will just not understand it if you don't speak to me that in that way.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. I think that's also a story that is maybe also rooted in trauma.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
my suspicion. And I agree with what even Molly, you were talking about earlier, is like that cognitive dissonance, right? That occurs in early recovery. It's this a mental tug of war that is
Yeah.
between these beliefs we have about I want freedom from addiction, but your brain is also saying just one bite is going to help me cope right now. That
Well,
takes time to rectify and come to terms with. It's not a simple matter of, oh, I just don't have enough like strength to do it. It's understanding that coping with food is a survival mechanism. And so there is strong reasons why we use it and we feel that way.
The
I,
survival mechanism in the purest sense. You are
like
literally
literally,
biologically
right.
wired for that.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's like, I really believe in this like cunning and baffling and powerful nature of addiction. I've just seen it with myself. I've been working with a couple of opioid users recently, and like addiction's like really sneaky. Like it really just like wants to get back in so badly. Like I'm working
Mm.
with like I'm just have happened right now working with like people who are very actively addicted, and it's amazing, this disease of addiction. And I would think if somebody who is a chronic relapser is using the word chronic relapser, this is gonna be really unpopular opinion. It's unlikely they're ever gonna not be a chronic relapser.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, like, I have this one sweet patient that I treat right now, and she really is having a hard time getting some time together. But every time, this is why I know she's going to get it, though. This is why I'm telling the story. Like, the reason I know this girl is going to get it, like, I'm positive, like, I bet all my money on it, is that every time she lapses, and they're big, and she feels terrible, she's like, it's okay. I'm ready to start it. I'm ready to keep going. Like, she has this way about, I know, Mom, right? I know. And I'm like, I believe in you. We're going to do this. I know it, right? Like, and look at that, like,
Yeah.
oh, she's like, but I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get it. And we go back to the drawing board, and we've gotten some outside help. We've gotten her more group help. We've gotten her some psychiatric help. We've got all, and it's like,
Yeah.
if this particular person was like, well, I'm a chronic relapser, if we even if I even whispered that phrase into the work,
Yeah.
there would be no possibility. And it's just
Yeah.
No.
really like, it's a mind shift, right?
Yeah. Right. To go from this term that really just shuts us down to think about it more like Clarissa, you were saying, part of that process, right? So when we think about it as chronic ambivalence, it creates that space for exploration. It leaves you room
Mm.
to ask for more help, to get more supports, to think outside of the box. And it normalizes what she's experiencing with these very big lapses without excusing the harm. She's like, oh, that happened. Oh my gosh, I don't want that to happen again. How do I move
Yeah.
forward? I'm ready to keep going. And so then there's that internal motivation instead of just, like
No, a girlfriend gets to
flop.
session
Yeah.
like pen in hand, like, all right, like let's figure out
Yes.
what happened, and we've gotten to loneliness, and it's like, and I'm just saying, like,
Right.
I just think if there's, and this is like, maybe, listen, I love a 12-step group, but like I wish it was illegal to say that kind of thing in there. It's
Yeah.
because honestly, it's like, all it does is reinforce for your addiction that it has a seat at the table.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that
It's
there's
like
a piece in addiction that if you really want to get, some traction, and even that's going to be imperfect. There cannot be any seat for the table for your addiction. It can't be possible, or else it's going to do the thing it does.
right. It like kind of creates that like confirmation bias. And what I
Wait, what
love
is
that
confirmation bias? I'm not as smart as you over here.
well, it's that like everything I see and do tells me this is it. So then I almost like act out on these kind of reinforcing beliefs that I have about myself. So
Mm,
some
wait,
ways
that's the whole thing.
fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways
It's
for
so
some people. But I think what you also said that was so important, Molly, is that, you know, for the clients that struggle the most, there is also usually so much more going on. It's not
yeah.
just food addiction, it's mental health, it's chronic pain. It could be like so many other things. And this is just a signal you need to explore more. Not that there's something wrong with you, but that there could be other layers of
Yeah.
recovery that also need to be addressed.
Well, this is, I think I stole this from 12 Step probably, but that's like this piece too. And I really want to say this to anybody listening, like, you got to make your recovery as big as your disease. And,
Mhm.
and that's, I mean, setting aside this, obviously, if you're listening, we despise this word. Please don't use it. If, like, love yourself more than that. But there is this idea, I think, if you are someone who has consistent recurrences, which is what we would call it on food shrinks and
Yeah.
what you call it at sweet sobriety, that it's like what you're doing probably needs to be either expanded, or the intensity of the treatment needs to be different, or you need to look
Mhm.
outside, you need to look at trauma.
Mhm.
And I've seen that happen. When I said that to that girl, when I said, listen, I think once a week is not going to work. And I said to her, I don't think if you talk to me 7 days a week, this will work. I think we need to really find you in a more expensive recovery. She was so relieved
Yeah.
that it
Mhm.
wasn't so personal. I mean, calling
Yeah.
yourself a chronic relapser also makes it incredibly personal. It really is a moral term. I'm on a
Yeah.
Yeah.
on a
Yeah.
box today, kid. I'm on
But
a
no,
box.
and I get on this box too because language really does matter, right? So
This
when
language matters. I
this
mean,
language absolutely matters because, like Clarissa was saying, all of these layers, as much as I want to believe I'm a trauma informed clinician and all of those things, I only know what I know based
mm,
on what's been given to me in some shape or form, right? So when I can show up using language that is just mindful of that. So instead of the chronic relapser, if I'm like, oh, maybe you're just a person who's experiencing chronic ambivalence, or instead of saying, oh, this client is treatment resistant, it's like, oh, maybe they're in a protective place or a cautious place or an uncertain place. Maybe they just need more information, more time. Instead of when people are saying like, oh, and I failed again, because we hear that one a
oh,
lot too, right? It's like,
worse.
what if you're still exploring readiness? What if you're still exploring options? And to not get caught up in that idea of like, I've tried all the things and none of those things worked. And this is like, and I just need to do this thing that these very loud voices are telling me to do. That could be an option, but is that necessarily your
Yeah.
truth? We don't know unless we're open to it, right? And instead of like, again, like that idea of like slipping or like somehow we've messed it up, like what if it's just like we were saying, like, oh, look at you, like reaching back out to that old lifeline, like returning to those old skills that were tried and true in a situation that you weren't sure of yet. Like, can we just expand how we even meet people, and maybe they would start meeting themselves in those spaces as well?
Well, can we also
Right.
say one other thing? Because this, everything on this topic is just all my, like, you're just touching it on my points. Because I really have to say, when people say, well, I already tried that. I already tried that. I've already been to treatment. It's like, here's the thing about addiction. Sometimes you have to try the same thing more than one time. Like,
Yeah.
actually a lot of times. Like, to be honest, like, what got me finally abstinent was actually like a very simple meal plan, lots and lots of incidences of connection, and making my life very small for a certain amount of time, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. You think I didn't try that before? You think that was
Mhm.
my first, actually, you know what? It was my first time being humble enough to say, you know what, I got to shut down my life for a minute. That was how I made my recovery as big as my disease. But like, you think I hadn't tried like a nutritionist food plan before with no sugar and no fat? You think that was my first attempt at that? Like, no, promise you no. And so I think there's this other piece where, and I think diet culture is the culprit here because it's
Oh
always like
yeah.
something new, something shiny. You tried this, it didn't work. Like that's just not real. Sometimes you got to
Right.
try
No.
And
seven
perfectionism.
and
Perfectionism,
perfectionism.
huge problem in this recovery journey as well. Because, if we are only always focusing on the behavior, we're missing all of the progress, right? And then thing I say to my clients all the time is do not let perfection get in the way of progress. It is the number one thing that'll make you believe you're doing it all wrong.
It's so
Mm-hmm.
hard to get to really radically accept the mind frame of recovery, isn't it? Like
Mm-hmm.
Is
it's so much easier to think I'm good, I'm bad, I'm a chronic
Right.
relapser, I got to my goal weight. It's like, then what?
Yeah.
Like this is a
Yeah.
journey.
Right. And that dismantling though that you're talking about, Molly, and like the diet culture and the perfectionism and and for me, I just think about it, it's like we value power and control in our culture. We
Yeah.
value dominance. We value linear progress over like nuance, like that both and
Mm.
place, right? We poop on people who are vulnerable. Like we don't put value and weight on the things that actually get people better. We put value and weight on the things that keep people sick. And I think when we can take a step back and start to realize that the system is rigged against us and maybe we need to take a more radical approach, and like you said, like maybe it is shutting down my life, making it really small for a period of time to get my sea legs, maybe that is all that it would take,
It's
you
just
know.
such a
By the way, that's a huge ask for a lot of people. And it was a huge ask
Absolutely,
for me. I just was
absolutely.
about to lose everything and I was like, I gotta shut. I wouldn't even go out to dinner after. I wouldn't even go out to dinner and I couldn't even eat dinner after 6 o'clock. I mean, it was really postage size, but it had to be. And now it's
Yeah,
enormous. Now my life is enormous and abundant and amazing.
yeah,
I just totally also can relate to the person who just feels like they can't figure it out and that it is like you just feel like somebody who maybe is that chronic relapser.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, because I think I felt that that was me during my journey with alcohol. And in hindsight now, coming through it, and knowing what I know now about practicing recovery, I totally see it for what it was, which was just learning and growth. But like the way that I
mhm,
demonized myself and shamed myself, like like kept me from living any kind of life through all of that. And I do believe that that kept me stuck longer than had I been able to see it through a compassionate lens to just see, oh, this is just me practicing and this is just me figuring out my way. And
yeah,
so,
I
yeah.
love that, Clarissa. Thank you. And there are like all these spiritual readings that talk about this, right? Where we get micro focused on this one always negative thing. And there's a great reading by Melanie Beattie, and she talks about like the patchwork quilt of life, and we're just hyper focused on this one piece of patchwork, and we can't actually see, or we won't, how it really is a part of a larger patchwork.
Yeah.
One
oh
bad meal at a restaurant doesn't make a bad restaurant, but like, and I would just say like, what a different way to look at, recurrence, which is just like, hey, this is part of the patchwork. I'm not looking at the whole thing. I can't understand it. It's not done being sewn. So
right.
we offer that
Oh,
to you guys and we love you. And please stop
oh,
using the word.
yeah, please. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here today to talk about this, I think, really important conversation, or have this really important conversation, because maybe somebody heard it and it was like that invitation of hope that there's something different out there.
We believe in you.
Yay. Thank you. Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care, and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.